All right, so we're back. We're going to now set up some ImGui. We're just going to have a bit more go at setting up a bit more Sokol. So we've sort of got this main running here. We can run make run, and we've got a window, and all is looking good. But what we want to do, when we return this app description, we can kind of define a few things about the app. Um, and one of the main things we really want to define is probably like width and the height of the window and these sort of functions here. Okay, so let's just go back into our app, and these are the functions we want to define. So, oops. So we have a dot init function. So the init, this is actually a init callback function. I'm just going to call it init. We have a dot frame callback. I'm going to call this one frame. So creative. We'll have a cleanup callback. Call this cleanup. And we'll have an event callback. We'll call event. Okay, and while we're going, we probably could set the width, and let's set it at 800, and let's set the height at 600 pixels. Oh, and we can set a window title too, so let's do that. Window title, and we can just set that to whatever we want, but let's call it ImGui. ImGui? Demo. With Sokol. Maybe like that. Okay, so these functions are undefined, right? So when we, uh, let's just create them. So this one's a init's a void function with no arguments. We want a frame function is also the same. We have a cleanup function, oops, which is also void. So returns void, returns nothing, takes no parameters. So we'll have cleanup. And we'll also have an event function. All right, and event. So the event actually takes an event object, event struct, as its parameters. So that's our event function. So you can just run it. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, now one thing, I'm just going to pinch one more snippet of code. I had a whole video on doing this bit last time in the Sokol video. So in the event function, basically what I want to do is say if the key is down, so we can actually get this event object here, and it's got lots of different event information, such as the type and some mouse events, lots of different sort of depending on the event. So we actually say check the type, and if the type is a key down, so there's once again there's lots of different type of events that you can get. So we're looking for a key down event, and then if that's true and the key code is the escape code, right? So we're basically hit the escape key is what that means. We want to just quit the app. And you wouldn't normally release an app like this, but I just find it very handy in while I'm developing that I can just go make run and hit escape and I'm sort of exit it just to really quickly iterate. Okay, so yeah, just put that in there. Yeah, we don't need this anymore, so let's clean this up. We don't really need the hello world anymore. Oh, and yeah, you can see now our window's different size, and it's got a nice little title, so that looks like that's all working good. Right, now let's try and compile some ImGui. So yeah, first step is sort of look at this Sokol ImGui. And in here we need to define that. We've already done that. Or Sokol ImGui. Yeah, actually we do need to define this again. So what I'm going to do, because this is going to be in C++, and I'm trying to compile this as C, I'm actually going to create a C++ file. So we're going to add another dependency file. Right, and I'm going to include this Sokol file. And yes, what it's telling me is that I need to include this definition. So this is out of these definitions, this one's basically like the general one. You just include this one, and that sort of says implementation for all of them, or you'd have the implementation for the specific Sokol. That's sort of a pattern that you'll see across all the Sokol apps. You see here's like Sokol, just general Sokol implementation, or Sokol for that specific app. So in this case, because we're only doing in this depth file, we've got the implementation for all these, the sort of the base Sokol ones. And then this one, we're doing the definition for ImGui. Okay, so it's now telling me I need to include the Sokol GFX. And also app. Okay, so let's include that. Okay, so that's sort of working. Now it's saying include the CMI GUI header. Okay, so we can do that. So in here, we'll call the just put the ImGui header. Potentially what we need to do here is actually add this to our build system. Let's just make this and see what happens. Ah, yeah, so we haven't included it into our CMake. So what we're going to do here is include our deps.c++. Okay, and we probably just want to say here that we're actually not just doing C, we're actually going to do C++ as well. So C++ is CXX, which seems a little bit strange, but that's what it is. Okay, sort of worked. Yeah, so it's still trying to constant expression, that's a C++ thing. So it's basically trying to include this as yeah, so we actually need to include all those. We sort of need to compile all the C files basically. So in these C files that we're creating here are really just to like include these single file headers as implementations, right? So you can see here app. So there's always the sort of the header part of the file, and then eventually you get into the implementation, um, which is sort of here, right? And so this is really like this input from this bit onwards would be equivalent to having a so-called app.c file. So this is like the C file. And so basically by defining this, you sort of get that C file essentially becomes a C file. And we could just include that directly in our main and define it in the main function, but I just like to create this depth folder so I don't have to keep recompiling all the time. So this is kind of like our C file for all these embedded in one. And so we're compiling that, and then we're doing the depth one for this Sokol ImGui. But in here, we've got all these other C files or C++ files, right? So we don't need to compile the header files because they just get included, but we need to compile all the C and C++ files. So you can see here we've got all these C++ files. So we need to actually include them into our build. So we're going to do that in our CMake. And yeah, I've actually done this before as well. So I'm just going to kind of steal this little bit of code that I've had over here. And you can see here, so this is literally just all those files. So I just had to go through here and to save a bit of time, I've pre-done this, but we just have to go through and include all these C++ files, right, into our build. So now you can see everything we're compiling is always a C or a C++ file. And because we're using both C and C++, I think the way CMake works, could be wrong, but I think this is just basically picking up the extension and compiling. If it's CPP, it's using the C++ compiler, otherwise it's using the C compiler. So let's just see what happens there. Okay, so we go. No, I don't know if that made it worse, to be honest. Yeah, so maybe the other thing I did find that I did, I don't know if this will help, but let's try it anyway. So we actually just set the C standard that we're using because potentially that constant expression thing is a relatively new thing to C++. I'm definitely not a C++ expert, so I don't really know. I think it might be relatively new. I don't think it's in the old C++, yeah, I'm not actually sure, but we're just going to set the C standard 11. So we're going to use C standard 11, and we're actually going to set the C++ standard to C20, C++ 20, and this might help. So basically telling the compiler what version of C++ we're using. And from memory, I think I got those versions from here somewhere, but I've got to admit, I can't remember where I got them from. Okay, I think that did something, to be honest, yeah. I think that was progress. Yeah, it's definitely progress. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm actually missing there. Okay, well that error's actually gone away now. Hmm. All right, well I'm gonna have another little small break, and we'll see if we can debug this, and I'll yeah, come back to you with what I found out. Okay, I think I've found the issue, and after a long bit of searching, is yeah, this is why you don't copy and paste stuff, because it has bit me. So I'm getting these errors, and I wasn't really sure why. And the reason is, I think, we're about to test it. Is it in the starting video, we ran these little scripts here to get these from GitHub. Now, because I copied this from a previous time that I've done this, this CMI GUI is actually just locked on this this tag, or this branch. So this Docker inter. And at the time, that branch was connected to this git hash in the actual ImGui library. So if I show you in GitHub, you'll know what I'm talking about. So in this, where was it? Here, CMI GUI. So I'm on this Docker int branch, and then this is using this Git submodules. At the time, I'd copied the Git hash, and it turns out well, that was the right Git hash at the time, but since then they've updated this Git hash to the submodule. So they've updated the submodule with the branch, and now this is the new Git hash. So there's been some sort of breaking changes, I guess, that are incompatible. So you sort of, if you're using the C bindings, which I'm using, you really need to make sure that whatever version you're using here, and what we could have done is actually lock the hash of this CMI GUI to make sure it's sort of stable. But I was just actually using the branch name on this one and then the hash name on this one. So we've sort of gotten caught out. So basically I just need to update this hash here like this, I believe. Yeah, so what I need to do is search for all of them and paste that. Paste that hash that I got here into my script. Okay. I think that's, oh, yeah, sorry, you probably can't quite see that. It might be cut off the screen a little bit. I'll try and move it across here. Basically, this hash in this file here is wrong. So yeah. Anyway, and this is why we do this is why we've got this update command. I can now just update ImGui. And yeah, so hopefully this update, if we actually just look at the diff, we actually don't have this as a Git repo. Oh yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. We didn't check it in, so we can't really see the diff. Anyway, so yeah, that's from what I've figured out before. There was definitely some diffs, so there's some issues. So let's just make this now and see what happens. It already looks better, and it looks way better. Okay, cool. So we're now running. Make run, and we've still got a window. Okay, so now we've compiled. So we've successfully compiled ImGui and linked to it. And now the next step will be to sort of include that into our Sokol program. So I'll see you on the next one.